Hey angels, welcome back to your welcome. Per usual, I'm so excited to be here. Happy Friday. I hope everyone has had a great week so far. I myself have experienced some challenges this week, but I am so proud of myself for how I've handled those challenges compared to how I would have handled it months ago or years ago especially. Things didn't go as planned with one of my closings, which ended up being like a lot of drama, but in that I learned a lot about like myself and the progress that I've made when it comes to like my mentality and letting people get to me, especially when I know things aren't true. And so that's why I really like stress the need, at least for me, and if you're like me who struggles with overthinking and just ruminating negative thoughts, it's so important to reshape and train your brain around thinking more positive, because it impacts everything. Like me thinking more positive and knowing my worth and knowing how much value I have as an agent, and not just as an agent, but as a friend, as a family member, as just a person in this world. I can't let things that other people say about me that I know isn't true affect me, especially when it comes to like my work ethic and things like that. Like I've learned, especially in sales and in customer service, because I've worked in customer service for since I was like 16 years old, and even before then I was like, I had a babysitters club. I was helping my mom sell Avon, just lemonade stands, selling pictures on the side of the street, anything I could do since like the age of 5. But I've learned in customer service over the years that you can't please everybody, and in mental health, because I worked in mental health too. So in both sectors, you can't please everybody. It's not your job to please everybody. Your job is to show up, be your best self, spread joy, to be positive, and present yourself as your best self. But your job isn't to control other people. You can't control other people. You can't control how they react. You can't control what they say. You can't control anything about other people. All you can control is yourself and focusing on yourself. And the more you focus on yourself and really retrain your brain to think differently about the way you show up and the way that you allow other people to affect you day to day, it really shifts. Because this isn't my first like terrible client. Like I've had maybe 3 in my career. I always say, me and my friend always say, like, there's always one crazy a year, which I definitely don't want to manifest that, but just in general, you're going to just have people who you just don't get along with. And I remember when I first started real estate, and my mentor told me, like, you're going to get to a space where you're going to feel comfortable enough and want to fire people, because not everyone values your work. Not everyone operates the same way you do, and that is just fine. And I remember when I fired my first person, and I felt so relieved, because I just felt like, okay, I don't have to deal with this burden, and it just felt so burdening. And even with this deal that did not end up going through, which is still so crazy to think about, and all of that I put into it, even in that, realizing like my intuition the entire time was telling me like, maybe I shouldn't work with this person. But because I was living in a more lack mindset and just like, okay, well, the money would be good, like, you know, and while I'm trying to, or not trying to, but while I'm building my income and my multiple streams of income month to month, like maybe I should just stick with it. Like, you know, we're almost there. I put in so much work, when, like I've said before, like sometimes you have to evaluate if the work is worth it, like if it's worth it to continue going on. Because like that Japanese saying goes, expression, like the longer you stay on the wrong train, the longer it's gonna take your ass to get back. And I definitely learned that lesson, and that was just another lesson for me. And that's why as human beings, we can't be so hard on ourselves for making similar mistakes that we've made in the past, because those mistakes are not the same. Like we no longer live in the past, and when you don't live in the past and you live in the now, you recognize that like mistakes are always gonna happen. Like we're just human beings, but our job is to lean in and to learn and to do better. And so even though I did have a client that I knew like in my intuition that like, oh, this is like a situation, let me walk away, and I didn't, it's okay. Because even in the aftermath of that, I didn't let all that happened affect me. Like old me would have been crying and just like, why did this happen, and just blaming and not like staying positive, and instead I was like, okay, that's fine, something better is gonna come along. It gave me more recognitions of like what doesn't work for me, and so I just learned a lot in that and about myself, and like, wow, like the work that I've been doing on myself is working, because a bitch would have been spiraling. When I say spiraling, I would have been spiraling if I hadn't gotten to where I am now with the work that I've been doing on my mental. So anyway, I say that to say, if you're going through that right now, I send you all the sparkly positive vibes, because it's okay to walk away from something knowing that something better is coming, and we just have to retrain our nervous system to deal with that, change, to embrace that, and to move forward. Okay, so that segues me into the topic that I want to discuss this week, and that is revenge. Do this instead of doing revenge, because revenge, for me at least, doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't make me feel good to take the negativity that someone gave me and to send them an even worse like version of myself. It doesn't feel good to me to like plan and plot. And I know we look at these shows like How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal and all these things, and I used to watch the shows and just really be like, wow, I wish I had the ability to play these like chess moves, when in reality the ultimate chess move is to move on with your life, to transmute that energy, and to trust that something better is coming along. Now, that doesn't mean to not stand up for yourself, that doesn't mean to not assert yourself, that doesn't mean to not do what is necessary to like get through whatever is going on. And when I say doing whatever is necessary, I mean in like your communication and the actions that need to take place. Like, for example, with this particular situation that happened, like the actions that needed to be taken place was like talking to my higher ups about it, like addressing it with everyone who was involved. But that didn't require me to create a plan of revenge because this person did something that was like out of pocket, you know what I'm saying, or said something that was out of pocket. If anything, I think in balancing your light and dark feminine energy, you learn that walking away and your silence is so much better than any type of action that you could do that would seek revenge. Like, it just really is. And it especially works with men, like when they say something and you just leave them on red, chef's kiss. Like, I did that to a man and I think I just like left him in shambles. Like, it's just the best feeling to not have the last word, knowing that like you're so confident in yourself that you don't need the last word. But again, that does not mean not asserting yourself, but I think say what you need to say and let it go. I'm a person of, I like to only say something once. If I have to repeat it again, I will, but in my head, I'm already going like, something's wrong here, because I don't feel like when it comes to something that's important to me, like I should have to communicate that more than once and to set my boundaries more than once. And so when that person again shows you that they aren't meeting you where you are when it comes to your boundaries and things that are of value to you, then they are showing you that they don't belong in your life. And so that's why I say that like silence, and when you know your worth and you know the power of your silence, you leave things without feeling like you need to, like I said, have the last word. And when you see the reactions that you get from that and the power that makes you feel, it just, I love it so much. So highly recommend that. But in the conversation of revenge, in general, you assert yourself in a way that matches your highest self. So your highest self isn't telling you to be a pushover. Your highest self isn't telling you to let people run all over you. Your higher self is going to tell you to assert yourself, but your higher self is going to do that in a way that makes sense to what you see your future being, because your highest self is your future self. And so I really lean into that as well when it comes to things. Now, I'm not perfect. I have sought revenge once, like clear revenge once in my life, and it made me feel so icky after, and I'll tell you the example. But because it's honestly funny now, it was literally years ago. And of course over a man, because like it's so gross for me to think about. But there are tools that you can use in order to shift out of that feeling of wanting revenge and that anger, because I have been there, and I've told you guys on this podcast like that some really horrible things have happened to me, things that I'm not, and this is not to discredit things that have happened to other people, because everyone has a story, but there are things that have happened to me that no one would suspect. There are things that have happened to me that someone else that were in my shoes would have given up, would have like just completely like been in pieces about. And so I really pride myself on the tools that I'm going to talk about, because it has really helped me to move on with my life and to just seek higher ground versus like stooping down to someone else's level. And I honestly have a couple of examples about this, because even when you are seeking higher ground, that doesn't mean that the devil, and I say the devil meaning like negative energy, is still not going to like try to like ooze its way into your system, because that's what happened to me. Like, okay, so I'll talk about that example first. So when my ex broke up with me, well, I wouldn't say my ex broke up with me, but I broke up with him. I kind of forced it on him because I found out he was cheating on me. So anyway, let me readjust for a second. Oh God, okay. So when I found out that my ex was breaking up, or not breaking up with me, but cheating on me, and I pretty much like forced him to break up with me, because I'm like, okay, we had 2 weeks left on our lease, and we had leased another apartment with the plans of like buying something in the future. But we leased like a 2-bedroom, like just to have more space, yada, yada, yada. So this was like a really challenging time for me, because I'm like, okay, well, where am I gonna live? Like, what am I gonna do? And he didn't make it any better. And honestly, neither did the girl that he was cheating on me with. So long story short, I decided like to move out earlier. I live with my friend's friend, and I talked about this on TikTok a little bit as well. But I moved out and I lived with my friend's friend for those 2 weeks so that I could just like readjust. Like, my grandpa was passing away at the time too, so I was just going through a lot. And when I say passing away, like he was on life support, like we were just experiencing, so I had a lot of anticipated grief, and I had a lot of grief of this relationship and just not feeling worthy and just all these things, because being cheated on is a betrayal. It's traumatic. It's not an easy experience to go through. And when you're still working on your self-worth, it can just make everything feel worse. So I just wanted to take some time to like really pray about things and like get my stuff together, and just, like I said, reach for higher ground, because I had learned that like I don't need to like do anything. Like, I'm just gonna like do my own thing and like move on. So neither one of them made it any better. She was a complete cuckoo bird. Like, if I could tell y'all the things that this girl did, actually, I'm gonna explain a little bit. So they were both awful, but like one time she called me at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and apparently like just with some drama that had nothing to do with me, and just asking like, are y'all still together? Like, crazy questions for a side chick to be asking, honestly. And then another time, because this like led on for months, and I don't even know why I put myself in the scenario. It like at least went on for like 2 or 3 months. Like, it was kind of crazy. Like 2 or 3 months. It was like April to like, because April's when I found out, April to like August. It was honestly like really crazy. She accused me of like trying to like ruin her business, because she like got a bad review of someone else saying that like she was sleeping with their husband on like, I don't know, Yelp or something. Like, something that I wouldn't do, because I'm a Capricorn, so like if I want to be diabolical, I'll be diabolical, and I'm just not on that type of time. Like, why would I stoop lower to meet you where you are when I can just go higher and do better? Like, absolutely not. So I was experiencing all of this at the same time of grieving my grandpa, who had just passed away, because at this point he had passed away, and just trying to like make ends meet and just do better. It was just a rough time in my life, and that just really taught me that like I said, even when you're aiming for higher ground, you still might experience tests of people, places, things that are trying to defeat you. And that's when using these tools comes even more into play, because like I said, you can't control other people. You can't control what they do. You can't control what they say, but you can't control yourself. You can't control your emotions. You can't control how you assert yourself. You can't control your actions, and you can control your mindset and how you move forward from that. So the first tool that I would recommend is taking a beat, taking a pause, because when you don't take a pause, that's when the worst things can happen. And I feel like that's how like a lot of people end up in jail, like for murder and for these like horrible crimes, because they don't take a beat. Like take a beat and take a moment to pause, because I feel like as human beings, we feel so the need to rush all the time and to do things fast and to have fast responses and all of that. But when you read books that teach you about power and asserting your power, and you learn that, again, silence is golden, but also there's power in pauses, and taking a pause, especially in negotiations and things like that, like taking a pause to think about what you're going to say or do before you do it is so key. And the way that I have learned that taking a beat is necessary is because I did something so terrible. Like I think I was like 23, and this guy like really screwed me over. Like I drove him from Richmond to DC for a meeting that he had, when he said that like he couldn't get there. Now that I'm older, I'm like, that didn't even make sense to me. But anyway, I drove him, and apparently he was with another girl and had a girlfriend the entire time, and did not tell me that. And the way that I spazzed, like I took no time to take a beat. I remember it was like early in the morning, and this was literally like 12, like it was so long ago that like who cares. It was like early in the morning, so it's like 7 a.m. when I found out about it, because a girl called me. I don't know what it is with women wanting to call me like and have a moment, like a woman to woman talk. It's so, anyway, I spazzed. Like I did not take a beat. I went to the fridge. I remember just seeing red, and his car, mind you, was parked outside of my house at the time. I just saw red, and I picked eggs up out of my fridge, like, and I've always used organic cage-free eggs, mind you, which aren't cheap. But anyway, I egged his car allegedly, and I was so mad that like I went back to the fridge, and my best friend can like like really speak to this, because I know she's gonna listen and she's probably gonna laugh, which I love you guys for listening. But I like went back to the fridge and grabbed like more leftovers, because I was like, what else can I throw in this man's car? Like I'm so pissed. And my friend just like, it's like, okay, we're gonna put that down, we're gonna calm down. So she tried. She's like, you need to calm down, like we're done, okay? I was like, okay, fine. No. I went back to my room and I paced. I just remember pacing back and forth, like, what can I do? Because this is awful. I had some acrylic paint because I was painting a mural or something. I can't remember what I was doing. I love a creative project. Anyway, I was painting, and I got that paint and I took it to his car, allegedly. All of this is alleged, by the way. And someone painted it a clown on the side, like just like awful things like cheater and all these things all over the car, allegedly. Someone did. And I remember just being like, okay, I'm so satisfied with myself. And when this man, so he ended up calling me and like asked me to pick him up from the train station, like to just talk or whatever, yada yada. I talked to him. He had no good excuses. Apparently he wanted to see like how things were gonna go with me before he like officially broke up with her, like something terrible that, you know, some men do. Anyway, I didn't care. I had another date that night, so I was like, I have a date, I gotta go. So I left him right there at the train station. Didn't even take him back to his car, because I was like, you need to figure it out yourself. And this was like before like Ubers and stuff were popping, so like I don't even know how I got back to his car. But it's so funny that like I'm on the date, and my best friend, who was my roommate, and my other friend call, and they're like, okay, he's like outside of the apartment and we can just see him pacing and just like furious. And he calls me furious, like, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I guess it's around Halloween, the kids got you. Because I forgot to mention, I went to brunch with friends and was so heated that someone allegedly went to the convenience store, bought another dozen eggs, and his car ended up having like 24 eggs on him. Like it was a tragedy and pain. Like, oh my gosh, like, oh, anyway, so so funny to think about now. Anyway, so he ends up calling me like all sorts of names on the phone. I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I guess the kids got you for Halloween, like park better next time or something. And maybe like a couple of days later, I just felt like icky about it. At the moment, like I felt like justified in doing what I was doing, and I felt like, okay, like I have a reason to while out like this. And as time went on, like in a couple days, I felt really icky about it. And I'm like, just because this person did me wrong did not give me the right to allegedly like do this. And so I made it right. Like I actually sent him money. It was probably like $100 or like $60. I can't remember, but I just remember being like, here's some money to like go get your car washed. Like, I'm really sorry. Yeah, I was like angry at you, but like, and what you did to me was like uncalled for, but like that wasn't necessary. I'm better than that. And I just wanted to like make things right, because I just couldn't sit with myself knowing that I had done something like that and be okay. Like, because again, at what cost does the revenge, like at what cost are you doing this revenge and seeking out this revenge? How will it make you feel after you are done doing whatever it is that you want to do, that you think is gonna like get back at this person, when the biggest get back is them not being in your life? The biggest get back is allowing karma to do its thing, because karma is always going to do its thing. And that is number 2, trusting in the laws of the universe, the laws of karma. No one can escape good and bad karma. It works both ways, and it has certainly worked both ways in my life. But I think even in that, like making things right with things that you know you need to make right, and not trying to even out the score. Like my ego could have continued and been like, F that man, like I don't care, like he deserved that. But my higher self was telling me like, no, like that's not right, India. And so that man chased me for years. Like after that, was like, wow, like that was the most mature thing. Like he literally like chased me down and like wanted to be with me for years after that. And so that was a lesson too, of like biggest justice that I could have gotten, like, is that he no longer had me in his life. That's the biggest revenge, is like that he always thought about me and like how great I was, and how he missed out on such a great girl. And I think that's better than anything, like letting someone miss you. So the next thing is, after you take a beat and you realize like, okay, like what can I do right now that's going to service my highest good, that is going to honor who I am and who I'm becoming, but at the same time not allowing myself to be a pushover either. Once you come to that realization and that understanding, then you're able to have a new perspective. And another way of saying that is transmute that energy. Because when you have a new perspective about things and you decide that you're not going to let what this person did to you or this experience rule over you and over your thoughts and over your present and your future, you are able to own and claim, I will say, a new story, a new timeline. And they call that transmuting energy. Like, of course, I'm not using the exact definition of that, but you just basically want to take the negative energy and turn it into something positive. So if someone says bad mouths you or like talks bad about you, you can say, wow, I'm so glad that I'm so important, like, to people that like they feel the need to talk badly about me, but I know how great I am. I know how amazing I am. So that's neither here nor there. Like, I'm glad that they're out of my life. Like, this just showed me like who their true colors are, and this makes room for new friendships. Thank you, God, for removing this person from my life and allowing new, better friends to come into my life. That is an example of transmuting energy. Another example for me, like in my entrepreneurship, when I lose out on a sale like I did this week, or a client just is like out of pocket, because it happens. Like, people are only humans, and sometimes you got to meet them where they are and leave them where they are as well. So with that, I can say like, okay, like that client didn't work out because someone better is coming along, because I know that what I offer and real estate, like in life, is so valuable that there are 100 people behind that person that are ready for me, that are ready to utilize my skills, that see my value. And you know what happened this week? You know what happened? Just like that, I got a new listing, which is great, right? So I'm not gonna say that like every single time like something great is gonna happen, but as time goes on, or even if it's like a week from now or a month from now, you see the results of you choosing to think more positive and to transmute the energy from something that could have ruined you, or just an experience. When I say ruined, like something that just like brought such like sadness and like stress and worry and like just all the negative feelings, like taking that and deciding like, no, I am better than that. I know something better is coming, and I trust that something better is coming, and leaning into like the work that you've done on your self-worth, and not allowing what someone else says about you, that is their opinion, to affect the way that you move forward in your life when you know who you are. And of course, take that with, not, I wouldn't say a grain of salt, because that's not the right words. I think y'all know on this channel by now that like I'm not 100% with my English. But I will say that you just don't want to make room for negativity more than it's necessary to seep into you. And so by meeting negative energy with negative energy, you're just compounding that into more negativity, when instead of matching that negativity, you aiming for higher ground and having that positivity, even if there are times that things try to bring you back down to meet them at their level, you continuing to press forward and push forward, you're going to see positive results of that no matter what. Even if it takes longer than anticipated, you will. And that is law, okay? That's not India law. That is the law of the universe. All right, I've already talked about karma. I don't really need to get all into it. But I will say, as a Saturn ruled baby over here, I have never, and since that whole alleged incident, I have never needed or felt the need to exact karma on anybody, because who am I? I'm not God. Let God be the final say of that. And you can lean on whatever powers that be that you believe in to have that faith in that people reap what they sow. That is just, again, the law of the universe. Hi. Hi, come say hi. Little pause for my kitty. Say hi, kitty. Say hi, Luno. Say hi, Luno. I love him so much. Okay, bye-bye. And when you see the work that God does that you could have never done, you're like, wow, okay, great. I literally had to do nothing. Didn't have to lift a finger. And look what happened. And no, I wouldn't say celebrate in that person's, sorry, I have cat hair on my face. I wouldn't say celebrate in that person's like demise, but I would say, I guess, you know, it is what it is. Like, that's my favorite thing to say, is like, it is what it is. You reap what you sow. I can't help that. Like, that is all on you. That is all on you and your actions. And you don't try to save that person either. One thing I've also learned and taken away from my last relationship is to, again, leave people where you found them when they show you that they aren't worthy of you, because you can't step, when you are in the way of what God has planned for that other person, for how they treated you. Sometimes you can also like take on some of that energy that should have just been left for them. And I truly believe in that. Like, at the time, like, I was climbing the ladder in like my business, and he had experienced a lot of hardships in 2023, and I felt like because I was in the way of him getting that on his own, I was also experiencing the negative emotions that came with that. I was experiencing the negative things that came with that. And no, I was still like doing better and like aiming for higher ground, but I just felt like once I left him and I removed him from my life and allowed God to like do his work on him, good and bad, and allow God to do the work on me, my life just exponentially got better. And that is just the truth. Like, if someone has done you bad, it's just best to leave them where they are so that you can move forward in a positive direction and not have that like ickiness of like darkness on you. You also don't want to be a victim. You want to own your story. You want to own your part in it, and you want to let yourself know like, okay, this happened. I did this. I was this. I allowed this. And learn from those lessons and move forward, knowing that now you have a better sense of how to recognize things. You have more indications of what could be a red flag in your mind. So for example, with the client that honestly, it wasn't even just like, I wish I could explain it because I cannot, but it was just not a normal situation where someone just has a hardship and something happens. Like this lady, I'm saying too much already, was just outrageous the entire time, to everyone, not just me. And so by me owning the fact that I allowed myself to continue working with her, that I could allow myself to continue moving forward, knowing that like my intuition said that there was something wrong, by not owning who I was now and what I deserve now when it comes to my business and what I will and will not tolerate, like not even owning, but just like maintaining my boundaries in business. And I did not do that. And so those are the lessons that I learned. Like, okay, like I can recognize more of like, that's a red flag with a client, but also like when I get that inkling and God tells me and my intuition that something isn't right, and I feel that in my gut and in my heart and in my mind, it's time to move on. It's time to go. So again, transmuting that energy and saying, I'm so grateful that now I know more, not only about myself, but more about what I'm looking for in a client, more about what I'm looking for in a relationship, more of what I'm looking for in a job, more of what I'm looking for in a friend, and just expressing gratitude and reaching for your higher frequency of emotions. And it's not an easy thing to do, and it's something that like honestly going to therapy and just a lot of inner work has helped me with. But when you take responsibility for your life, you are better able to make decisions and have let your mental reflect those better like choices that you're making, and deciding that you aren't a victim and that you can own who you are. And that doesn't mean that you're bad or that you're not worthy or that you don't deserve. It just means that you're a human being and you made a mistake. You made a mistake by trusting that person. You made a mistake by continuing to move forward with something that you knew in your heart of hearts wasn't right for you. And that is okay. And we need to also be okay with making mistakes. Be okay with needing to do more work on ourselves, because the work never ends. The work is always going to continue. But the more you decide to show up as your highest self, the more you decide to reach for higher ground, the more you decide to be more positive in your life and to let your life reflect who you want to be, who your future self is, the easier it becomes to not let the things that other people do get to you, that you no longer need to get back at somebody. It just becomes so much easier, and you just honestly feel freer in that. Because when you're confident in who you are and you own who you are and you know who you are and you know your worth, which are all things that I continue to still work on. Obviously, I just went through some bullshit this week. But the more you do that, the more peace you find. I truly believe that, because even though like things around me aren't going the way that I anticipated them going, because I have decided that I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to have a new perspective on things. I'm not going to let those things get to me, because I know that, again, this evidence stack of positivity is going to get me where I want to go, versus building this negative stack. The better off you are. So that is this episode. I really wanted to talk about this week because it was a major aha moment for me of like, oh, these are the things that I've been doing, and this is how it has been working in my life. And it truly has been working, because y'all, when I kid you not, like I said, I would have been in shambles, like skipped doing this episode. I would have just been like, woe is me, what am I gonna do? Panicking. And panicking doesn't help anything. Panicking helps nothing. Panicking only makes it worse, because panicking is the negative emotion. Reach for higher. Reach for higher, have a new perspective. And I journal about it. I journal to release things that no longer serve me. I journal of like, wow, I'm so proud of myself that like this is how India is now versus who India was in 2024 and 2023, 2022, and who India was when she was 23 years old. allegedly doing crazy things, you know? So anyway, I hope that this episode was positive for you. I hope this episode had an aha moment in here, or a moment that gave you an aha within yourself. If you have enjoyed it, I would appreciate a like, follow, subscribe, all the things. And I'm headed to a meeting. I will catch you guys next week. Bye.